Greetings and welcome back, Dapplings, to the third episode of our Reassembly 8000p tournament. This is Group C, which, as it happens, is the largest P group. Now, obviously, as I've mentioned before, the values of certain components changed after I had accepted entrance for the contest, so as a result, there was a much larger range of point values of ships, and this is the group that I put all of the highest point value ships into. So we have the Program by Spectra Light, 8140p, the Crusher by Morcani, 8104p, the Uber Berylix, 8784. This is the highest value ship in the tournament. Starry Skies by Carl King, 8224. The WSF Aegis Heavy Cruiser, 8140, the same as the Program. The Razorhead Mark V by Hagoromo, 8036. And finally, the Brawler by Rinthalion, 8188. So let's jump into this battle and see which of these enormous ships wins the fight. So first up, we've got Program and the WSF Aegis Heavy Cruiser. Wow, that thing is huge by comparison. Oh, it looks like nuclear missiles coming away from Spectra Light's ship there. One has been thrown out. It looks like the heavy cruiser has enough point defense to try and prevent these from getting too close, whilst it has so much firepower. Though it really does need to worry. The closer it gets and the more it starts focusing on its actual enemy, the greater the chance that any of these nuclear missiles will actually get through. But wow, I must confess, considering how much armor is on this ship and how slow it is, I wasn't actually expecting it to be able to do so well, but it has done very well. It has got such an enormous range. It can protect its damage so far, though it has a lot of its components just down a very vulnerable looking neck of this vehicle, but the vehicle itself, so pretty. Usually the enormous ships like this I'm not as keen on, but they've managed to do some really, really good work with that. Well done, Leon Whitestar. Though that isn't to say that Spectra Light's Program is not also beautiful. I'm a very, very fond of the purple colouring myself. I quite like that colour scheme. But it looks like it is over for it now. It has been spun out by the enormous range of the heavy cruiser, and unless that nuclear missile getting close. No, it did not. Managed to take out one of the shields right at the end, but it was pretty much a done deal on that one, since the Program relied so heavily on a weapon system that just wasn't going to work against the heavy cruiser. Now, is Starry Sky going to do any better? It seems to have a similar amount of point defense here, and likewise a similar amount of very long-range DPS, but that nuke is getting very close. Very, very close indeed. It's still chasing it down. Having a lot of trouble taking out that one nuke. The Program may be in with a chance here. No, it hasn't. It's losing its chance. Those nukes just can't seem to get close enough, though this one might be able to get in there. It's very close. Nah, alas, no. It seems that shields are winning the day. They are absorbing a lot of the damage as long as the nuke isn't close enough. But wow, the drones. Both of the ships that the Program has faced so far, very drone heavy. This one, not so much with the missiles. Though that said, it does have a fairly impressive missile volley, but it is far more focused on the drones, and those drones are being amazingly dangerous for the Program. I don't think the Starry Skies lost its shield or took any damage whatsoever in that. Okay, let's see how the Uber Berylix does against the Program. This one does not have any shields, so this will be an interesting one to see how the Program can do. And it looks like those nukes finally starting to pay for themselves. Enormous damage. Absolutely enormous damage. There we go. I don't actually think that the Program's enemy managed to do any damage to it at all. We'll see here, though. All of those spikes are not very useful against the enormous, overwhelming firepower of the nukes. And there we go. Well done there, Program. First win for you. Now, you're up against the Razorhead Mark V. This is a very interesting looking ship. It looks like it's super heavily armored, though that's not going to do a whole lot against nukes unless they can take them out. No, there we go. It managed to shoot them down long before they were that close to the ship, but close enough that their blast radius finished it off. It was a little bit of a shame. This ship just has far too long of a turning circle for it to be safe. Ooh, its missile volley just clipped that nuke and it was all over. And looks like the next two straight down the nose. Okay, so the program is really starting to come into its own at this point. Right, next up we have the Brawler. Now, how's the Brawler going to do? Again, a non-shielded ship. Oh, I don't think that's going to go very well. No, unfortunately. Spectralite's program just smacked it in the face with 2 nukes. I mean, if you're going to smack someone in the face with anything, I suppose 2 nukes may as well be what you use. That is a shame. We haven't actually been able to see any of the last 3 ships really achieve anything. The Brawler looks very interesting. Its armor design specifically looks interesting, but unfortunately we didn't get too much airtime for it. Now, the enormous amount of missiles there kind of worked against the Crusher in that they set off the nukes a little bit too close. And once again, the program moves forward. Those nukes really, really paying for themselves at this point. The last 4 battles, I think, were wins. Is it going to be a replay of the last one? Yes. Even though the missiles were shot down fairly far away, it still didn't really make that much difference. So 4 wins to the program. Now we're moving on to the heavy cruiser. Let's see how this one does. Now, the heavy cruiser and the Starry Sky seem to be more or less exactly the same kinds of ship ideas for their weapon systems, their defensive systems, though the Starry Sky is certainly a more interesting craft. It's an omnidirectional craft, whereas the heavy cruiser is more of a traditional design. Using the very similar components, though, lots of very heavy thrusters, but I fancy that the heavy cruiser has the advantage in terms of armor. Though it's not really using that advantage here. It has presented its rear. That is a bad move. And there we go. Starry Sky managed to win out. Equally armored on all sides, whereas the heavy cruiser only armored significantly on the front. If something were to attack it head on, it would have much, much harder time of getting into its vulnerable components than it would going for the rear. But unfortunately, the heavy cruiser decided to turn its back, and it looks like it's doing the same thing again. Looks like the Starry Sky is going to be presented with another opportunity to hit it. No, it's moving away this time. Okay. Starry Sky not making use of its omnidirectional nature there. Doesn't really have to point in any particular direction. It does have a lot of smaller shields and one very large shield at the center. It seems that it may have been actually designed with that larger shield in mind so that the whole ship is under that shield's protective bubble. Now, this looks like a much closer fight this time around. Is the Aegis Heavy Cruiser going to be able to pull this one back? It's certainly winning on points, but is it going to be able to hold out long enough? It has lost one of the wing armor sections, which are protecting its core. Oh, there we go. Well done, Heavy Cruiser. Okay, this one goes to round 3. This will be the first time that we've seen a battle where the ships are well enough matched that it got to round 3 in this particular group. In the last fights, obviously, any ship that the program wasn't good against, it died to within the first 2 rounds, and any ship it was good against died to it in the first 2 rounds. So this is a pleasant change, a little bit more of an interesting battle to observe. Now, there is just such a spam of drones and missiles going everywhere. Though I would say that Leon White Star's heavy cruiser is using drones less effectively than Starry Sky is. Certainly Starry Sky seems to be deploying more drones or has more drones on the field. Perhaps it's a symptom that the Starry Sky's point defense are a little bit better. The Leon White Star is really struggling here, though. I think... No, there we go. Starry Sky has secured itself a victory against Leon White Star. Well played. Now, let's see how the heavy cruiser does against the Uber Barilix. Without nukes in this fight, we should get to see some interesting conflict. Those torpedoes, unfortunately, missing their mark. It seems that both ships struggling to orientate themselves, though. If those torpedoes actually manage to connect, I strongly suspect that it's going to do a huge amount of damage. Yes, there we go. But unfortunately, Leon White Star just can't seem to turn correctly. This is a painfully slow game of cat and mouse. So let's speed things up a little bit. If it comes down to this... Oh no, there we go. The border of the arena. I'm so glad they added that so that we can have something change. If a ship relies on just running away indefinitely, then it's going to fail with the border around the arena now. That used to be a very, very big part of the Faction 4 ships. They could simply just keep outrunning their opponents because their guns would push them back faster than any thruster could really catch up to them. But the inclusion of the boundary has in my opinion, really balanced Faction 4 ships. You just can't have a ship that relies on just constantly outdistancing its opponent. But in this case, the Uber Berylix has turned its side to face the Aegis Heavy Cruiser. That was a mistake. The Heavy Cruiser, sensing weakness, launches itself, kicks off from the arena boundary, and finishes its work. So once again, this fight goes to the third. So it really does come down to whether the Uber Berylix turns on its side when the Aegis Heavy Cruiser meets the wall or not. No, it doesn't look like it is. It may be within range to start firing back. It is. 1 shield down, 2 shields down. It is burrowing in. Can the Aegis Heavy Cruiser manage? I don't think it can. I think it may lose. Oh, what fortune! Its debris blocked an awful lot of the incoming damage there. That was so fortunate. I think it may have bought it enough time. That is such a comeback. Aegis Heavy Cruiser was on the ropes there, and it was fortune, not skill. Let's be honest there. That was fortune alone that kept it in that fight. Well done, you lucky scallywag. Right, let's see how the Razorhead Mark V does in a fight where it can actually get close enough to bring its weapons to bear. Lots of little rocket pods launching a flurry of ordnance towards the Heavy Cruiser. Its shields are down. Now, the Razorhead seems to be trying to just circle its opponent, looking for a weakness. And the Aegis Heavy Cruiser doing its best to try and turn its armor to always face its opponent, but it seems to be having trouble. I would say that the Razorhead is doing better in terms of armor right now. It seems to be resisting the efforts of the Aegis Heavy Cruiser much, much better. The Aegis Heavy Cruiser, I would say, has taken much more damage in this fight so far, but no critical system damage yet on either side, I would say. I would say the Aegis Heavy Cruiser has taken more damage to its systems overall, but it seems to be managing. But I don't know. The Razorhead has foregone shields entirely and is relying entirely on armor, and that seems to be doing it well right now. As soon as the Aegis Heavy Cruiser's shields go down, it does start taking damage to vulnerable systems, whilst the Razorhead just happily lets the cruiser chip away at its armor, not really worrying too much about its actual weapon systems. But there we go. I would say of the two that the Aegis Heavy Cruiser has a better range, and if only it could maintain distance to try and keep that advantage. But there we are. The Razorhead has managed to take it down. Look at all that flak. I was wondering what guns were there on the Razorhead. It looks like just lots of flak guns. Lots and lots and lots of flak guns. So it's very little surprise that the drones are not really being able to press the advantage here. They get shot down with relative ease, I would say. Let's speed things up, though, because the last round did take quite a while, and it did come down to a war of attrition, I feel. So we're going to see if that happens again. It looks like the Razorhead has the advantage in this, though. When it comes to raw staying power, the Razorhead is doing better than the Aegis Heavy Cruiser. Which is interesting to note, really. The different styles, the different philosophies of defense. The Aegis Heavy Cruiser was significantly better at dealing with nukes, and the Razorhead literally didn't even get a look in. The Razorhead was popped before it managed to do any damage whatsoever, but when fighting against something which was good at nukes, the Razorhead is the winner there. So far, as it stands, Pogram 2 wins, Starry Sky and Aegis Heavy Cruiser 2 wins. Sorry, the Pogram has 4 wins. I do apologize. So Pogram is 2 wins ahead of its nearest contest. Wow, look at that pulsing fire from all of those weapons. That is beautiful for the effect alone. Whether it is useful or not, I don't care. That was glorious. Just that wave of firepower from all across the hull of the Brawler. Well done, Rinthalion. Functional or not, you've made a beautiful bot. That is artistry at work. But it does seem to be very functional as well, though another piece of the Aegis Heavy Cruiser has broken off. This time, it has not saved it. It hasn't been able to jettison its debris in the right direction to act as an impromptu shield. I suspect that the Brawler is going to win. There we go. Those cannons, fantastic work there on the Brawler. Very effective, extremely beautiful. Just look at the wave of firepower just rippling over the twisted metal hull. As all of these missiles and drones try and pop them, they can't. There's far too much armor between each one. they would need significant AoE to be able to pop a lot of them through that armor, and in the time that it would take, I don't think you're going to be alive for much longer. Though well done to the heavy cruiser, managed to jettison its debris this time in exactly the right way, though the drones are starting to mount a proper offensive now. Both shields are up. The Brawler seems to have forgotten what it's trying to kill. This may be an opportunity for the Aegis heavy cruiser to just burrow through to some vulnerable components. Looks like it's managing it, though I wouldn't recommend getting too close. No, you've gotten close. I mean, I commend you for your bravery. I really do. But I think that may have been a tactically unsound decision there. Let's speed up time a little bit. It looks like this is just going to come down to, again, a war of attrition. And as long as the Aegis heavy cruiser doesn't get too brave, yeah, there we go. Wins on points. It just needed to keep its drones working hard the whole time. Now, let's speed things up again. The Brawler, once again, rippling through all of that armor. And now it's working on the vulnerable midsection. Unless the Aegis heavy cruiser can retreat quite far, I fear it may be about to go down. Wow, you were really drawn almost to nothing left on your ship. I strongly recommend you flee. Well done. You have made the right decision. I mean, if you want to win, flee. If you want to die gloriously and have songs sung about you, stay and fight. I mean, you know, it really does depend on what your goal is in life, I suppose. But there we are. I think, yes, the Aegis heavy cruiser wins again through points. Those drones earning their keep. Certainly earning their keep, but wow, the Brawler was a beautiful ship. Very powerful and beautiful. Now we get to see the Crusher, though, in a proper fight. It seems to be doing fairly well for itself in terms of damage, but what it lacks is staying power. It's already lost a whole chunk of its ship, and there we go. Beautiful design. I really like the design of the Crusher, but quite vulnerable. A lot of its armor is very, very slightly held on. It seems to have really gone for the kind of glass cannon approach. Most of its points were put into fairly powerful weapon systems. It's just a problem that against the Aegis heavy cruiser, it can't actually get close enough to fight it off. That is a shame. The Aegis heavy cruiser specializes in armor, I would say, but also has quite potent weapon system. I would say it specializes in armor, though. I genuinely would. Other than the torpedoes, which, okay, that's a very expensive weapon system, but against the Crusher, which seems to be more of a glass cannon, the Aegis heavy cruiser just won out purely from its design philosophy. Now, let's see how the Starry Sky handled some of the other ships. Against the Uber Barilix, I suspect the swell of drones that it's going to be able to release, whilst also fleeing from its opponent, may push this in its favor. But again, it is just fleeing. It's eventually going to meet a wall, and it won't be able to flee any further. The drones are having a little bit of trouble getting through all of the shields. They're slowly working their way through, though. There is a lot of spiky armor on this ship, though. Oh, it stopped running. It's letting the Uber Barilix come in close for a bit of a fight, but the Uber Barilix is showing that it has overwhelming firepower there. But Starry Sky managed to burrow through and take out its opponent. Well done, Starry Sky. That was very, very well done there. Let's speed things up a little bit. Ooh, the Uber Barilix got in close first time this time. Well done. If it manages to get close enough, then it's pretty much game over. So it all comes down to whether its opponent decides to flee and buy itself a little bit of time. Let's speed up time a little bit more, though. We've noted that the drones don't have that good of a time getting through. Now, which one is going to win in this situation? It looks like Uber Barilix showed that it had a far greater capacity to actually inflict damage. If it comes down to points, then the drones really are winning it for our huge drone boats here. If the battle is allowed to wear on that long, the drones will earn enough points to send its mothership through. But when it comes down to just a straight brawl, if the opponent can get close enough, then it seems that the drone boats are really starting to suffer. Now, is the Razorhead going to be able to get in close? It looks like it's trying to turn a broadside, and the Razorhead has fantastic point defense. So, in this instance, I wonder if the Starry Sky is really going to be able to bring enough of its drones to bear. But it does seem that its omnidirectional abilities there are working towards it. No, it's gone into a corner. Oh no, Starry Sky. I think you needed to go the other way. I think you may have just doomed yourself, because once those flaks get close, it's going to be game over for you. There is an awful lot of firepower being projected at your thrusters right now. Your ability to run away greatly diminished. No, you're still showing that you've got a little bit of fight left in you. It's just unfortunate that most of your fight comes from drones, and this ship seems to be the natural enemy of drones. If there is such a thing as a hard counter in this tournament, I would say that the Razorhead is a hard counter to the Starry Skies drone strategy. But that said, Starry Sky is still winning in points. If the Razorhead cannot close that point gap, and I don't think it can, then Starry Sky is going to outdistance it and win. And it looks like that's exactly what Starry Sky is going to do. Well done there, Starry Sky. I wasn't actually certain that you were going to win that. In fact, honestly, if I'd put my money on something, it would have been the Razorhead in that fight, but you did really, really well. I am impressed. Now, let's see how this is going. And yes, I can be biased if I want. I can say what I want to say. If I think one is going to win, and I can say one is going to win. I don't need to be impartial in this. I have no effect over the contest. I'm just watching it, the same as you. The only difference is I get to talk. Now, it looks like it's going to be much the same, I think. The Starry Sky is just going to constantly plink at it with drones, and it's a shame that the Razorhead is not getting points for killing the drones. I think if the Razorhead had been getting points for that, it would have won. I strongly suspect the Razorhead would have won. Now, against the Brawler. Now, the Brawler is crazy powerful, but it doesn't seem to have any real point defense. Against the Starry Sky's enormous drone armada, that may prove the deciding factor in this battle. Look at the Starry Sky's points increase. Slowly but surely, it looks like the Brawler is actually turning into a sphere. It's having an outer shell of drones. The drones are basically locking wings and creating a Dyson sphere around the Brawler, all of their guns pointing inside. Oh, wait, the Starry Sky decided to be brave. I'm not sure it should have. Oh, my lord. Oh, wow. Starry Sky. That was really nice. That was for the crowd, that was. Starry Sky was almost certain of its victory and decided, you know what, I'm going to make this a little bit more dramatic, a little bit more interesting. I'm going to rush in and almost lose, but then win at the last moment. The crowd always loves it when I win at the last moment. You show off. It's true, though. I liked it. Right, let's see. Once again, the drone Dyson Sphere is being constructed little by little, or bit by bit. Starry Sky wins once again. There's 42,000 points. Right, it's all equal. Starry Sky, Aegis, and Program. All comes down to this. Can Starry Sky win against the Crusher? I'm not sure that the Crusher is going to be able to do any better against the Starry Sky than it did against the Cruiser, which is a shame. It's a genuine shame. It's a nice looking bot, but the lack of armor, the fact that it's put all of its eggs into one basket, I don't think much is going to be able to change the outcome of this battle. So we're going to speed it up a little bit. We'll see if it can do a decent bit of damage in its first pass, but it unfortunately couldn't. Now it's just going to be melted by an army of drones. Oh no, it got a second pass. Well done, you. I'm impressed. The drone's trying to keep pace, but it's actually managed to stay ahead of the drones. Oh, no, you were doing so well. You decided to strafe in the wrong direction. Right, Starry Sky is currently point winner. Now up is the Razorhead against the Uber Barrelix. Now, this is an interesting one. These are two very, very slow-moving, heavy damaging ships against each other. I have no idea which one is going to win. Looks like the Uber Barrelix has cleaved off one side of the Razorhead's armor, but the Razorhead has managed to burrow all the way down the spine of the Uber Barrelix. That was a bit of a shame. If the Uber Barrelix had managed to approach the Razorhead from the side, it might have been okay. It really does look like the Razorhead, as long as it can avoid giving its opponent a broadside, showing its broadside to it, then it will win. It's got enormous firepower. And the Uber Barrelix, it's trying to turn its better armored side to its opponent, but ultimately the Razorhead just burrowed through once again. Well done, Razorhead. Well done indeed. Now, the Uber Barrelix against the Brawler. Let's see how this one plays out. The Brawler, I'm going to say that I think the Brawler is going to win this simply because it's got an overwhelming amount of firepower when it gets in close. But that said, Uber Barrelix has managed to cleave off a fair bit of the armor, but not really reduced much of the firepower. The firepower is distributed all throughout the ship of the Brawler, so there's really no way to easily cut off too much of its DPS, whereas the Brawler has already managed to cleave off quite a lot of the Uber Barrelix's DPS. There we go. It has won, though. To be fair to the Uber Berylix, it was getting quite close to the AI core of the Brawler. Let's speed this one up and see if it goes any differently. Again, I absolutely adore that kind of pulsing wave of firepower across the Brawler when it first engages. After a little while, it loses the synchronization, but it's so beautiful when it's there. It looks like this is going to play out exactly the same way. Oh, no, wait. No, it did. Again, so close. The Uber Berylix just not able to hold in there long enough, but so close. Well done. Very, very good effort there. Now, let's see how the Crusher does this time. Come on, little Crusher. I always like to cheer for the underdog. There we go. Getting in quite close this time, but against the enormous firepower of the Uber Berylix, that was perhaps the worst thing to do. Still, I admire your bravery. Charging up some sort of main laser, and there we go. Didn't really do too much. The Uber Berylix's armor is fantastically well designed to weather an alpha strike. Fantastically well designed. Okay, we've got the Razorhead up against the Brawler next. Once again, will the Brawler's amazing kind of configuration of having its weapons distributed equally all throughout the ship work? It's doing really well. There we go. Very quickly took down the Razorhead. That is actually a surprise. The Razorhead has done fantastically well in fights where, well, pretty much in any fight that didn't involve a nuclear weapon, but the Brawler's really interesting design of its weapon fire means that it can shoot continuously. There's really no way that the enemy is going to be able to wear down its defenses. Though that's the third time now that something has gotten close to getting to its core. Very, very well done. The Brawler seems to be lucking in a couple of these. It could go the other way. If it perhaps derped out and tried to steer the wrong way, it might go very differently. Now, the Crusher going for an attack on the side. Very well done. That seems to be probably the only chance that you have, really, of taking out the Razorhead. But the Razorhead is already onto your shenanigans. It's turned around. Oh, no, it's presenting its side once again. No, slightly wrong angle there. The Crusher doing a flyby, trying to flee, but the flurry of missiles chasing it down, wiping out its thrusters there. It is losing a little bit of its ship every time it does this attack wave and not really doing any appreciable damage to the Razorhead. That said, though, the Crusher is winning on points. If this goes to a countdown, the Crusher may win. Though, no, actually still winning. That's very interesting indeed. So slow that down, we might see a bit of a change. No, it's still actually in the lead. Well done, Crusher. You may actually win this on points. That would be a very interesting turn for the books. The Razorhead's lack of maneuverability working against it here, whilst the Crusher can just do little attack waves. Do not get stuck on its nose. I thought it was about to throw away its victory. Well done, Crusher. Your first victory, I believe. Well done to you indeed. Now, let's see how this one goes through. We'll keep the speed up because we'll probably see the same as last time. Ooh, getting a little bit close there. I was a little bit panicked that something different might happen, but no, much the same. It seems that the Razorhead's enormous size working against it here, and the fact that it's basically just a very, very long, narrow ship. Well, narrow is relative, but a very long ship. Ooh, there we go. Crusher caught off guard and managed to bounce. Ooh, there we are. Only takes one failed strafing run. The Crusher is relying entirely on its agility here. That one bounce on the nose of the Razorhead cost it a win. We'll see if it can hold out this time, but we're going to speed up time. We'll just watch this for now. We'll see if it manages to bounce on anything, but if it can avoid it, then it's probably going to win as long as it can keep on the move, though the point value is much closer this time. Much, much closer indeed. It looks like it is maintaining its lead. There we go. Crusher wins against the Razorhead. And final battle of this group, the Brawler versus the Crusher. Let's see how you two manage to do against each other. The Brawler, not particularly impressed by the initial volley from the Crusher. But that said, hasn't managed to really cleave off too much armor. The second volley did quite a lot, though. But I suspect that the Crusher is going to lack any real method of bringing its weapons to bear. And there we go. The Brawler has secured its victory, as I was fairly certain it would in this particular instance. It seems that the tactic of just spreading your weapons out really, really working for the Brawler. And I may actually have to look at using that method in my future builds as well. Because I wouldn't have said it was a very wise idea. However, it has worked fantastically well. Okay, the Crusher, though, in terms of points, vastly ahead of the Brawler. If the Brawler doesn't try to move, then the Crusher is going to win this one on points. It's over 10 times as high. It's coming up to 20 times as many points as the Brawler. If the Brawler doesn't try to get in close and actually bring his weapons to bear, maybe the Brawler is deciding to give this little ship a chance at victory. Is it going to try and end this fight now? It's trying, but I don't think it actually has the ability to get close enough to the Crusher to be able to stop this. Is the Crusher going to be able to win on actual damage, I wonder? It's got very close to the core. It may do it. That would be a nice win for it. Not having to rely on the points, but it's going to be close. Is the timer going to round out before you manage to secure this victory? No, I think the Crusher actually won that fight by taking out its opponent with firepower. But unfortunately, it looks like the tournament has bugged out again, so we can't see anything, so I'm just going to accelerate time. We'll try and watch what's happening. It looks like the Brawler is in pretty close. It is shaving off quite a lot of the Crusher there. I suspect that one's going to go the Brawler's way. So there we go. Starry Skies moves forward with 5 wins to the Aegis Heavy Cruiser and the Pogram's 4 wins. Well done, everyone. Interesting to see that the Uber Berelix did not win despite being significantly higher in point value. A very, very big difference in point value there. So perhaps the part not really worth the points they now cost. Certainly in that particular instance, it didn't seem to do much better than other ships made of like 700, 600 less points worth of components. Though, of course, a lot of it does come down to design and whether you've got a particularly good counter for your ship's specific setup of weapons. But well done to the Starry Sky. You move forward. The victor of Group C has been decided. That's it from me. I hope you are enjoying the tournament so far, and if you are, then by all means leave a like or leave some feedback in the comments below. I would certainly enjoy reading your thoughts on how this went out, and especially on how the nuclear weapons fared in this battle. A lot of people have been unhappy with the inclusion of nuclear weapons, but as we saw there, they didn't win. They came close, mind you, but they didn't win. They were 2 ships that flat out annihilated the nuclear equipped ship without much trouble at all. But that is it from me. So until next time, and as always, do take care.